Hey guys, welcome for a very impromptu video today as I'm getting my stretching in, pardon the awkward position, multitasking here. And this is a video that's inspired by just some like real life experience that's happening right now. And it's about how do we manage that integrative time of being away from our blood family and coming back to our blood family, or coming to visit, or maybe you can relate if you have lived abroad or you've done a lot of traveling, or even if you went away to school for a few years and you would come back. It's a really interesting dynamic, and I've had so many really fascinating conversations with people about this, and I'm in a position like that right now. I'm not coming back to stay with my blood family, but I am here for a small visit, an unexpected visit, and I still notice the impact. And it's very palpable, and it's hard for me not to notice because I'm seeing more and more so each time that I return to my family home that there's such an abundance of growth to be had and integration to be had. And I can remember times in my life where I felt like a victim of what was happening. I would return home and I just hated everybody. I'm like, why didn't you get it? And I'd be so upset. And then sometimes I would return home and feel like a co-creator, like, wow, this is all happening for me. This is amazing. I'm learning so much. And I think it's natural to have the full spectrum because in my eyes, that's where the real work happens, is when we journey to a place where we have previously had some kind of vibrational footprint. And that's how I see it. It's like before I left America, before I left my family home, the first time, I had a certain vibrational imprint there. How I dressed, how I looked, how I showed up, my vibration, that's who I was. But often when we remove ourselves from places, when we step out of comfort zones, especially through traveling and experiencing different cultures, we grow, we expand, we become a product of what's surrounding us. Not a product, but we are influenced by that. And we will grow and shift in some way, shape, or form, which is beautiful, and that's evolution. And maybe not everyone wants to do that. I have a lot of friends who don't want to travel and they like being home, and that's beautiful. They do it in different ways. But we have this vibrational footprint that we leave, right? So then we go and we do our thing and our vibration shifts. And then we return and the shoe doesn't fit. And it's like, what do we do now? And everyone's feeling a little uncomfortable, or maybe they're not, maybe you just are, who knows? I remember when I first returned to America after being out of the States for like 2.5 years, not seeing my family and like really not even talking that much. It was a big gap. It was like I went from a little ballet slipper to a fucking combat boot. Like, it was just different. It was very different. And it was really hard for me that first time returning because I had created this whole new way of being. Like, my philosophies on life were different. The way I saw the world, like the way I was actually even physically seeing was different. The colors I was seeing were different. I had been doing so much cleansing and fasting and detoxing and spiritual work. I was a different human in some ways, but the seed of my soul was always there. I was just learning how to feed it better. I was learning how to nurture the soil of the seed of my soul better. But then I'm entering this territory, and it's like we have to do that work of that integration. And it's not that it takes a lot of work, that's the thing. I think it can seem like a really hard thing, like I've got to heal this pattern, and that often is just the acceptance and finding ways to solidify and keep showing up for yourself as you are now, while having compassion and empathy and love like for what was and how changes naturally shift. But I remember that first time I came back, it was really intense. Like, I felt like I was being thrown into the sharks. I put on a lot of weight. I felt really depressed. I just felt super confused, to be honest, in lots of ways. And it was really challenging. Kept my spirit as high as I could, but it was hard. But I notice now, each time that I return to my blood family, I'm stronger. And there are a few core things that I wanted to share with you guys, if this is an experience you're having, things that really help me, that may help you, and shed some insight on this. Whether it's, even if it's not returning to your blood family, it could be going to see old friends, it could be going somewhere else, it could be anything where you feel like you're confronting old ways of being and you're not really sure how to do it, while still maintaining the space you're in now. And maybe you've heard this term called non-negotiables. And non-negotiables are things that you just can't not do them. And many people, have non-negotiables that are quite similar, like drinking water, sleeping, brushing your teeth, taking showers on somewhat of a regular basis, these sorts of things. Now, what about non-negotiables for your soul, right? That soul fertilizer. And this is something that often isn't so thought of. You know, it's natural if you're in a conversation with someone to say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm gonna go now. I really need some water. I'm really hungry, or I have to pee. But it's not natural to say, oh, I'm gonna go now. I need to do my dancing. You know, dancing is my non-negotiable, and I really feel like I need to do that right now. It's seen as selfish or weird, right? But this is the big shift here. It's when you honor your soul's non-negotiables in whatever setting you're in, honoring your soul non-negotiables, your spirit attains this level of resiliency where you can really show up anywhere and take the situation, even if it's challenging, even if it's hard, and use it as like fertilizer. So what are your non-negotiables? What are some non-negotiables for your soul? What are some things that feed your soul so much that allow you to show up anywhere and everywhere you are? I've really started to get to know my non-negotiables by doing so much traveling and shifting homes and moving and being in different people's homes and my own homes and back with family sometimes. And sometimes I slip up and I feel it because I'm a totally different person when I'm not honoring my non-negotiables. Just like you would be a totally different person if you were dehydrated because you weren't drinking water for 4 days, or if you didn't sleep for 4 days, right? You'd be a mess. Well, your soul does have non-negotiables that feed you joy, that feed you bliss, that feed you life force. And when you don't give yourself those either, you're also gonna get fucking bitter. You're gonna get angry. You're gonna get insomnia of the soul. So my non-negotiables are dancing. I need to dance. Like I need to dance just as much as I need to eat food. And it's only when I prioritize it that way that I actually receive the gifts from it. Rather than, oh, I'm just gonna dance, put on a song. For me, it's like, no, this is my life force. Another one is daydreaming. This is a more recent one I've come to terms with because it's something I've always done. But for a while, I really put myself down for it. I was like, oh, that's not practical. You need to be more logical. You're already too creative. Don't daydream. Get in the real world. Heard it from lots of people. Heard it from myself. Heard it from the world. But more so recently, I'm realizing how fucking juicy daydreaming makes me. When I let myself daydream for 45 minutes in bed, it actually fuels my desires and my inspirations and my energy and my drive to just let myself go to those spaces. It's actually really nourishing and fulfilling for me. And to even embrace changing up my perspective on that, seeing it as, no, if I enjoy it and if it brings me gratification and soul nourishment, I'm gonna do it. It must be good for me. Yeah, so those are two of mine. And you will have really unique ones too, or maybe you resonate with those and you want to try them on for yourself. Often you'll know that something is a non-negotiable because of how freaking good you feel after it consistently. And it's something that you can even force yourself to do and end up feeling better. And that's the thing. Non-negotiables don't always mean that it's natural to do, right? Because we all know we need water, but how many of you have been dehydrated before? I know I've been freaking dehydrated thousands of times because I don't drink the water, but I know I need it. And it's the same with our soul non-negotiables. You know, it's not just like dancing is gonna come knock on my door and be like, come on, Kelly. Like, yes, luckily that does happen sometimes, but there's also been times where I have to drag myself out of a stupor and move and dance because I know that's what my soul is needing. And then by the end of it, I'm feeling so much better, or just so much more present with my experience rather than feeling like a victim of it. So I invite you to explore this. What are your non-negotiables? What are the things that feed your soul? And wherever you go, there you are. If you know the book, you'll know what I'm talking about. So cheesy. Okay, not the book, me. Yeah, and I feel like that's been one of the biggest tools for me to really enjoy being with my family, is when I'm taking care of my non-negotiables, I have so much more joy to share. And that's the last thing I'll share in this video. Wow, we're already at 10 minutes almost. The two biggest connection points with family or old friends that I feel are just no fails. Like, they just don't fail unless you have a family that's very stiff and they don't like laughing at all, which I think most people like to laugh. Even if you're thinking, yeah, my family's stiff, be aware, is that a projection? Have you tried to be funny with them? Have you allowed that in for yourself? Joy and love. Like joy, and when I say love, it's like, it's very simple love, like a touch or a hug or a look in the eyes, or you're really beautiful, I love you. I'm so grateful that you're part of my family. Sharing of love and the sharing of laughter, humor, joy, silliness, playing around, running around, fooling around, making funny videos, laughing at each other, doing pranks. These are honestly the places where I can connect with family and friends the deepest, when maybe there isn't so much of a similarly shared philosophy on life. And sometimes what I find is with people who I didn't think we shared a similar philosophy on life, when we enter the doorway of humor, or when we enter the doorway of love, and like a touch or a cuddle, that opens up something, and I learned something about that person I never knew before, and they open up to me in a new way, and they're like, when I was your age, I did this. I'm like, what? I never knew you went to that country. I never knew you had a passion for painting. These gems can arise, but it takes us taking care of ourselves, so we're not looking for other people to show up to the plate and meet us. We get our non-negotiables met, and then you may be surprised at what you find. So this is a super impromptu, informal video. I wanted to share it though, because it's real, and it's what's happening in my world right now, and I can imagine that living the kind of life I've lived, and the kind of vibration I hold, that I've also probably attracted a lot of people on this channel, through you guys subscribers, that can relate and have experienced this interesting dynamic of being away from family and being back, and feeling like, new me, who dis, and they're like, old you, where'd you go? And it's like, what do I do? And it's a beautiful thing, if we can take care of ourselves through it. And then by taking care, I keep seeing this quote everywhere, the way we take care of ourselves teaches other people how to take care of us. So if you're like, oh, this is my non-negotiable, I have a daydreaming session that I do with myself every day, because it just makes me feel so good. And you stick to that consistently, and people see it, they're like, oh, Todd is really into that thing. That at first they may judge you, but then they're probably like, that's kind of cool, because you're standing up for yourself and you're doing what you love, not in a defensive way or anything like that, just as you. So okay, I'm gonna cut this now. I'm gonna save you guys another minute, because I'll just keep riffing it. Thanks for being here. If you watched this whole video, you're an absolute champion, and I will see you in the next episode.